Hello, my name is Omar Rampersad. It is 5:23 p.m., December 1st, 2020. It's December and it snowed this morning. And I like winter. I just don't like how long it is sometimes. I like the snow and I like the change in environment and I like the change in scenery. It's pretty inconvenient and hard, but beautiful. So I'm going to read an article for you today. And I was very active today on Twitter using the oximeter. And I did some analysis. With the findings. And I tied it in to my being a target and my being illegally tracked. And I showed that with the detector, two of them actually. I showed that I am being tracked by a computer. And of course, the same signals that's used to track me is being used to harass me. So the PI right now is 3.7. So my blood pressure is still high because I'm still being pulsed. So I found that when the PI is under 2, the blood pressure is quite high, 140 plus. When it's between 2 and 5, it's in the 30s, 130s. When it's 5 and over, it's in the 20s, 120 and lower. So, and the higher the PI, the lower the blood pressure. But when the PI is over 20, the blood pressure drops very, very low, out of range, extremely low. I've seen it quite low when the PI is 25. I've seen it go down to 67 over in the 50s temporarily. And as soon as the PI goes back up, goes down and drops below 20, the numbers immediately go back up. Blood pressure immediately go back up. So it's an immediate effect. When I'm pulsed with the microwave beam, whether it be to track me or whether it be to torture me, I'm red alerted, yellow alerted, orange alerted. The effect is immediate, in seconds. My blood pressure drops, my heart rate decreases, the PI increase, the electrical currents in my body increases. It's immediate. The oxygen level is affected, increase, decrease. When the blood pressure, of course, drops, the oxygen decreases. And I tweeted quite a bit on that today, because this is the way I spent my day today, playing the stock market and doing this. Didn't make anything on the stock market today, but did a lot of analysis. So yeah, the stock market is quite volatile. We've got to be very, very, very careful with it. So anyway, what I also discovered was when I shield and I'm hit, the effects on the numbers are mitigated. So the blood pressure might drop, the PI might change, but the degree of change is decreased. So it mitigates it. It mitigates the effects. So shield. And as I tweeted before and today, I suspect that criminals are being used to piggyback on the 5G system. I am not saying that your internet provider and telecommunication companies using the system is doing this. I'm saying that it's illegal activity rather than legal activity, that these signals could be used for criminal activity, like everything else. And also, I think it needs to be discussed that the 5G system has effects on the biological systems of all living organisms, not only human beings. Everything electric, because we are all electric beings. We are all electric beings. And we all have EMF radiating out of us, electromagnetic radiation is part of the human body because we are electrical. Not going to go into too much detail. So as you notice, I'm not going to go into the mechanics behind it. I am not extremely clear myself. So when I do my research and I verify what I suspect, I may go into the details, or if I talk to somebody who knows more than I do. But yeah, the body electric. And I think there's a book by Robert Duncan titled The Body Electric. Anyways, so I tweeted, so I'm going to change the topic here. I tweeted a couple of tweets about enslavement and the New World Order agenda and the World Economic Forum and their agenda. And I went in and I took a second look, and a third look, and a fourth look. And I intend to go through the website pretty good. I found another article that talks about non-ownership of things that we use in our daily lives and we need. And interestingly enough, the article is titled, "What is Servitization and how can it help save the planet?" Servitization, giving service. So this article is part of the Pioneers of Change Summit. So the bullet points at the top is servitization is where customers pay for a service, such as air conditioning, rather than buying the equipment themselves. This model can be a major contributor to the systemic efficiency approach to decarbonization. So keep in mind, this is purely from an economic point of view, money. It's about helping companies maximize their profits and adapt to changing environments and circumstances while looking out for their interests. It also has potential to assist the post-COVID-19 economic recovery. The rising global population and continuous economic growth are driving an increasing demand for energy. Global energy consumption is expected to nearly double by the year 2050, further enhancing the challenge to cope with climate change. Keep in mind that the demand is driven by corporations, not by human beings. Corporations use up most of the energy. A report from the International Energy Agency shows that end-use energy efficiency alone could could deliver 35% of the cumulative CO2 savings through 2050 required to meet the climate goals of the Paris Agreement. So this is the okay, so I didn't read the agreement in detail, so I'm not going to comment. Although, but I heard that it's going to be traded. Carbon credits are going to be traded, just like other assets are traded. Other companies are traded, I should say. Although energy efficient technologies are available and the economic benefits are clear, there are several barriers that prevent these from being deployed, including high upfront costs, a perception of greater performance risk, and other investment priorities. The servitization business model, it's a business model, overcomes these barriers. It represents an effective way to accelerate the investments in energy efficiency needed to deliver the Paris Agreement goals for achieving a low carbon economy, while also helping the economy to recover faster from the COVID-19 pandemic. Now, the Paris Agreement is all about cutting the carbon. The carbon content that is the result of the use of all the use of fossil fuels. So what is servitization? With the servitization model, the customer pays a fixed fee per unit of service consumed, while the owner of the system remains with the technology provider. The ownership of the system remains with the technology provider, who remains responsible for all operation costs. As such, the model strongly incentivizes the equipment owner, that is the service provider, to think long-term when designing and selecting the technology. By offering state-of-the-art maintenance, the provider can minimize operating costs, in particular energy use, which is the largest cost component over the life cycle of the equipment. Keeping ownership of the equipment also encourages service providers to rethink the development of modular systems, which is key to a circular economy. So think of all the industries that this could be applied to. So there's a little diagram here. And we have heating already, of course. Where the furnace is being rented, that is, people can own their furnaces. They've got cars. We have lighting, transport, printing. The Economist mainstreaming servitization for cooling. That's one area. So we have electricity, for instance, good example. So the servitization model is a key contributor to the systemic efficiency approach to attain global energy decarbonization. Being applicable to any type of equipment required for the operation of buildings and other cities, and other city infrastructure such as e-mobility, the potential of servitization is a facilitator for rapidly accelerating the transition to sustainable infrastructure. Is enormous. So the potential is enormous. Furthermore, the deployment of energy efficient and state-of-the-art assets at the scale stimulated by this pay-per-use model strengthens the existing synergies with renewable solutions and enables their accelerated deployment. Okay, so I am not saying that this model is right or wrong. Obviously, it works for electricity, but they're talking about cars and they're talking about decarbonization. So, in other words, um, take for instance, and they're not saying this here, but this is what's applied by the article. You have cars, electric cars, that is zero emission. So no carbon footprints, or very, very low. But the car is so expensive that you cannot afford it. So right now we have hybrids, so we still have carbon emission. So the purely electric cars, high-end cars, are very expensive. And with COVID-19 and all the stuff that's going on, people are not going to have money to buy them. So then you're going to have a centralization of ownership of these cars, and the gas cars are going to be totally eliminated. They're going to be banned, will not be made anymore. And you'll be forced to rent the cars. You will not be able to afford them, or ownership will be banned, because to reach this goal of decarbonization set out by the Paris Agreement. Keep in mind, this whole plan is a business plan, and they're pushing the climate agenda. Keep in mind that the catastrophe that we're facing climate-wise is not done by people. It's being done by corporations. Corporations have cannibalized the earth and destroyed it, basically, poisoned it, like mining, what the mining industry did, deforestation, cutting the trees as well. It's corporations that did that, not the people. And here we have the people paying the price. So here we have another level of cannibalization. So now they're saying, well, here we have a climate catastrophe in our hands because the corporations, not the people, cannibalized the earth. Now we're going to save the earth. And in order to save the earth, here is an economic plan that will deprive you of private ownership of a house. Because, of course, if you have somebody owning the house, you're going to have the house built a certain way, and they're going to have certain things done to the house. So, there's no carbon emission. Very expensive, maybe. And you're not going to be able to afford that type of house. So then somebody else is going to own the house and you're going to rent it. Maybe they're not going to ban private ownership, period. But because the very rich are going to want to own their own place because they could afford it. They're not going to ban it. But what they're going to see to is it gets so expensive that you cannot own it. Or they're going to say, in this area, you cannot own it. The city area, you cannot own it. Keep in mind that the laws can be changed to suit the elites, whichever way they want. COVID-19 is a very good example of that. They brought in so many laws and bylaws just overnight because it was justified, according to them. So they could put a law on the book to say anything, just about anything, without debate. Keep in mind, under COVID-19, there was not a whole lot of debate in Parliament about some of these laws that were put in place, and rules and bylaws. Nobody debated it. It was just passed. So that it did not go through the democratic system. It went through the Emergency Act. And under that, they can do anything. But was it an emergency? Or was it made to seem like an emergency, driven by fear? So there's a lot of questions. This is about ownership, private ownership. This model is talking about the elimination of private ownership of everything. You're going to be renting everything. So it's a short article. I'm just going to read a few more paragraphs here at the end. So servitization strongly fosters innovation as well. Under a pay-per-use model, it makes business sense for a service provider to seek innovative ways to increase efficiency, maximize the use of equipment and reutilization of components, thereby aligning the interests of people, businesses, and the planet, low carbon emission, right? These innovative approaches might take many forms, including improved preventive maintenance, rethinking system design, incorporation of a lot of AI tech, a lot, L-O-T, L-O capital T, I'm not sure what that is, maybe a typo, and AI technologies, and using a systemic approach when serving customers. Letting market mechanisms via servitization promote efficiency is a good business opportunity. As a good business opportunity is especially important as the world recovers from a global pandemic. Servitization can play a key role in helping cash-constrained businesses to regain momentum while reducing operating expenses and climate impact. Climate impact, this is the driving force behind this. COVID-19 is the tool, and the Paris Agreement is the set of guidelines that's going to be used to force us to give up ownership of our houses, or our cars, of our land. And this is what's going to happen. This is how it's going to happen. This is where it's headed. And this is who is driving it. The World Economic Forum, all tied into COVID-19, the Paris Agreement, and could you imagine how well laid out this plan was? So we had the Paris Agreement, we had this climate disaster, and keep in mind that some of these hurricanes and earthquakes can be man-made. We have such powerful technology, space-based technology, that it can create earthquakes from space with high-powered lasers. And of course, the tsunamis and all that. So hurricanes can also be manufactured. So we have this climate catastrophe that's being talked about that's going to happen, where the earth is warming up. Well, if you send high-powered lasers around the world, yeah, it will warm it up really fast. Sorry, that was supposed to be funny. But really, I mean, if you emit a lot of EMFs and RFs into our environment, like we are using the 5G system, then it gets hot. So, is it possible that this whole PR campaign about the world is warming up and the ice is melting, could it possibly be a cover for putting in the 5G system? Because the 5G system is warming up the atmosphere and it will melt the ice. So if you go into this model, into this website, you will find some very interesting articles. And yeah, you're going to see where your world is headed. You're going to have a really good idea of where, what kind of world your children will inhabit. Keep in mind, we are already wearing masks. And by the way, wearing masks increase your intake of carbon dioxide, which acidifies your blood, just so you know. very interesting. And I think I'll leave it there. So it's 25 minutes, so I'm going to stop. That was 47. 56. 63. 73. And the PI is 2.3. Now notice that I'm going to take my blood pressure. And I could feel the burning sensation on my chest as I was talking. So I'm going to take my blood pressure. Okay, I have long sleeve on, so I'm going to have to improvise here. My chest is being pulsed as I'm talking. One 1.6. And the blood pressure is fine. But the effects are very, very, very fast. You got to be quick to catch them. Two 2.5. So I'm not sure what to make of that 37 heart rate. I think it did drop. Okay, so it's been 30 minutes. So I'm going to stop there.